as well.
Okay. And while I've got you all here, I just wanted to let everyone know that today, where I am, we're gathered here today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Syilx people. We recognize, honor, and respect the presence of Indigenous people, past, present, and future. If any of you are in the chat or would like to go into the chat to see what traditional territory that you're on, feel free. And Brandy's going to print or is going to post a link to an Indigenous territories map so you can actually see. Like I say, we're here in the Okanagan, so that's the traditional Syilx people. Okay. While you're doing that in the chat, I'd also like to invite any of you to let us know if there's a topic, like a burning topic that you're interested in WeBC providing a webinar on. We're lucky to have Stephanie Waters today from Procurement Assistance Canada. We do these webinars fairly often. If you have a topic that you think that Stephanie and her team could address in a future webinar, we'd love to hear that because I believe we're going to be continuing this series as we go along. It's very interesting for people with small businesses to know that they can sell to the government. So anything you have, we'd like you to pop it into the chat anytime today. We also have a feedback poll at the end of today. So if you've got to go, we understand. But if you could stick around for an extra couple of minutes and do the feedback poll, we'd appreciate that. And when you're on the feedback poll, if you want to pop in your topic for a future webinar, we'd love that. Okay. So I think we're going to get going. Oh, well, we are going to get going. My mousing is not good this morning. I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Kathy Burrell, and my title is Entrepreneur in Residence here at WeBC. I'm a former retailer, and I've had businesses before. What we offer. I mean, WeBC, we get this question quite often. I do work for them as well in client services. We provide support for your small business journey. We offer financing to get your business started and operating capital to fuel your growth. We offer more flexibility than traditional lenders because we take a holistic approach and provide loans based on your business's viability, not based on a formula like a bank would use, a traditional bank. So this means we provide loans to a diverse range of women-owned businesses and support you with integrated services, including complimentary training, mentoring, and business advising. And the short and the long of that is if you were to get a loan with WeBC and it had a 5-year term, for the length of your loan for 5 years, we would provide you with complimentary business advising and mentoring. So for a lot of women, that's everything. From essential business skills development to personalized business advice, we know the right questions to ask and the right resources to connect you with. As I mentioned, we do have business advisors, and they're a great resource. In our mentoring programs, you can connect with a network of women entrepreneurs and experts around BC. I would encourage any of you who have had a business or have expertise in something. We always have more women wanting mentors than there are mentors available. So if any of you think that you would like to be a mentor with WeBC, we would love to hear from you. You could send us an email, or you could go to our website, WeBC, we-bc.ca /mentoring, and you can register as a mentor. Somebody will be right in touch with you. Yeah, and I mentioned you can learn more about our products and services at so it's like a hyphen, bc.ca. Last but not least, if you're on our website, we'd like you to sign up for our eBlast newsletter. Our eBlast we send just once a month, and you'll be notified of any new programs because we have a ton of great offerings coming up. Okay. Anybody have any questions about what we have to offer at WeBC? You can just raise your hand or just like chime in. Okay, you're here for the meat. I can feel that. So we're going to go straight into our webinar today. We're going to welcome our panelist, who is Stephanie Waters. She's Project Officer at Procurement Assistance Canada. You try saying that 5 times fast. I bet you can't. So we just call her Stephanie Waters from PAC, Procurement Assistance Canada. Welcome, Stephanie, and go ahead and share your slides. And yeah, I'll be back to talk to you later. Enjoy the webinar.
All right. Thank you so much, Kathy. And thank you everybody for joining us on a Thursday morning to talk a little bit about federal procurement. As Kathy said, my name is Stephanie Waters. I have been with PAC for going a little over 3 years now. So I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of these types of events for WeBC. I hope that some of you have joined before. We had a summer session that took place in July and August. So there are some topics that we covered in the summer. So primarily navigating Canada Buys itself. If I'm looking at Canada Buys and you're not familiar, you're a little bit lost, A, let me know. And B, we do have a webinar on navigating that platform. So go back, watch that. Hopefully it makes this one make more sense. But that being said, we don't want anybody lost. So at any point throughout the webinar, if you have questions, if something's not making sense, please just jump in. If you're comfortable unmuting, just interrupt me. That's totally fine. I may or may not see the chat. So Brandy, maybe if there's something pertinent to a topic that we're talking about, can you just shout it at me? We will have time for questions at the end. But if there's anything as we go through, jump in anytime. That does not offend me at all.
Absolutely. And Brandy, I wanted to also mention Stephanie that everybody on the webinar, Stephanie is going to provide her contact information for more information. You can contact her directly, which is, again, so fantastic to be able to speak with somebody that knows everything about Procurement Assistance Canada. So Brandy will for sure put that in the chat a couple of times, so you don't have to worry. Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, a perfect example. Interrupt anytime. Yes, you will have my contact information as well as how to get in touch with other regional offices if maybe you aren't in BC. That's also totally fine. We have offices throughout Canada. The other thing that you will get is all of the links that we are talking about today, so you don't have to worry about trying to keep track of how to find each platform, even though they are easy to find. We will be providing those in that follow-up email. So with that, Kathy, can you stop sharing?
I can.
That would be perfect. And I will start sharing. Let's see if I remember how. Alrighty. That should be what we want. Alrighty, so with that, welcome to low dollar value procurement in a nutshell. As I mentioned, this is being developed and presented by Procurement Assistance Canada. We were created as part of Public Service and Procurement Canada to support small and diverse businesses in the federal procurement process. So our role is to engage with businesses, to assist and inform them on how to sell their goods and services to the Government of Canada, and to work to reduce procurement barriers in an effort to ensure fairness in the process. So we also look for opportunities to increase participation of diverse businesses in federal procurement. And we do that by listening to concerns from suppliers, answering questions, helping businesses understand the procurement process and identify opportunities. So we'll be going over most of those today. And we are also partnered with community organizations like WeBC to offer assistance that is more tailored to meet specific business needs by doing things like this. Mentioned Public Service and Procurement Canada, or PSPC, manages the procurement of goods and services valued at $24 billion a year annually on behalf of the Government of Canada. So that's not even how much the entire government is buying. That's what's managed by Public Service and Procurement Canada. So it's really a huge potential client. And we're just talking about it before the webinar started. The government will always be buying things, regardless of economy slowing or whatever it might be doing. Our needs are going to be consistent for the most part. So if you're maybe getting started in a business and you're noticing the economy slowing down, this could be a really good way to have that consistent client base. They buy obviously a wide range of goods and services, and on average, small businesses in Canada do win the majority of total value of contracts awarded by PSPC each year. There's a few exceptions to that, like emergency purchases, where that has to be done really quickly, and it might not go through the same competitive tendering process. But for the most part, small businesses are very competitive and do very well. Public Service and Procurement Canada is the main procurement arm of the federal government. Government of Canada believes that competition in the buying process brings the best value for money to Canadians. You'll hear it a lot. The procurement process being referenced as open, fair, and transparent, and that's so that all suppliers have an equal chance of doing business with us. So we have a lot of rules in place to make sure that the process is open, fair, and transparent. Government buys a lot of things from a lot of people. That is what you need to know about that. We buy everything, and everything from a lot of people for a lot of different contract values, is just the important thing to take away. No matter what you're selling, there's probably somewhere that we can find a government department that needs what you're selling. And that last point is what we're going to be getting into more today, where government buyers use a variety of methods, including direct purchases from vendors. So we're going to talk about how to find those, how to find what department might have that requirement, how to get in touch with them, that sort of thing. So, like I said, if you, never mind, getting ahead of myself. So on the other hand, there's the competitive procurement, which is going to be over $25,000 for goods, over $40,000 for services. And this is where you'll see the tender posted on Canada Buys. You'll see that it's open for a set amount of time, it closes, it gets evaluated, it's awarded. All that whole process is what we call the competitive process. So there are different kinds of solicitations even within that. You'll see requests for proposals, requests for standing offers, requests for supply arrangements. If you want to know more about, we won't get too far into this today, but if you do want to know more, we have a whole session that we talked about standing offers and supply arrangements, and we did talk about requests for proposals in an earlier one as well. I think the one on Canada Buys. But yeah, there's just a few different ways. It's the standing offers and supply arrangements are a way to become a pre-qualified supplier. So it's like you go through that bidding process one time, and then after that, for any ongoing needs, the buyer can connect directly with you and get the commodities that you sell. So if you have any questions about those, do reach out, email us, go watch past sessions. But for today, we are focused more on low dollar value procurement. So that is what would be below $25,000 for goods or below $40,000 for goods and construction. So unlike those larger purchases that are done with solicitations and bids and tenders and of that very official process, low dollar value procurement is more so a direct purchase. So it's more like what you'll see, excuse me, in the private sector, where you're selling directly to a person. So it can be really helpful, and a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's easier. It needs a lot of research. It's not going to get handed to you, but it's less process heavy than the competitive side. So it might be a little bit quicker. It might be a little bit more intuitive, but it's still, there is a degree of, I like playing darts where you're just kind of putting it out there and hoping that somebody that you reach out to has a requirement. So if that doesn't make sense yet, it will, I promise. Opportunities for small and diverse businesses. Low dollar value procurement can present an opportunity to grow your business by developing a relationship with the government of Canada through smaller contracts. So if that competitive process, we say that it's over $25,000 for goods, that's the limit, but a lot of them are quite a bit higher. Like there's a lot of $1 million contracts. So if you're just getting started, you might have the capacity to compete on a contract of that size, but you still want to get started and do something with the government. You still want them to be a client. So this can be a way to get started with that. There are a couple others as well, but that's one reason you might pick low dollar value over competitive. Government of Canada awarded the majority of contracts to smaller businesses between 2017 and 2020, under $25,000. So there's those thresholds of 25,000, 40,000, but there's also another secret one. And that is under $10,000. Anything under $10,000 can be purchased directly with a credit card. So it depends on your industry. I mean, I think we use catering. That's our commodity of choice. So for that, a $10,000 catering contract might be significant, and that's big enough that you want to compete on, or not compete, but that's a sizable piece of work. Whereas if you're in innovation, technology, development, software type, well, $10,000 isn't going to get you very far. So there is that, where it kind of depends on the commodity. But if you are in one of those, I'm gonna say more common industries where $10,000 is a pretty good size, then just know that that can be done by a credit card. If you approach anybody that has an acquisitions card, they can just ring that through super easily. So that could be another strategy where you try to stay under $10,000. It'll avoid contracts and any type of competition and like that.
Stephanie, I have a question. It's Kathy Burrell. So we talked previously about the idea that when you're bidding on a higher value contract, an RFP or something with the government, there are very specific qualifications about when you get paid. So if we're talking about a $10,000 purchase on a credit card for catering, for example, would that mean that the person has gone through the process, has been awarded this catering contract, and then the credit card payment would occur before the event, or would it be right after the event, or would it be along the same lines insofar as you get paid 30 days after or 60 days after? Do you have any idea on that?
I think unfortunately it would depend. So like I know how we do it at PAC. If we don't purchase commodities, it's more so materials and things like that. So for us, in one instance, it is treated like anybody else with a credit card. You have to pay before you receive it. That being said, the terms of payment would definitely be something to confirm. You never want to start work without a signed contract, even if it is less than $10,000, or a signed agreement that says exactly what you're doing for what dollar value. And it would definitely be worth confirming whether or not those payment terms of 30 days from receipt of good or service, or if it's upfront, or like how that would work. Definitely confirm. It will likely depend on the department. Probably not so much down to the person, but each one might have a different way of issuing those payment terms.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, it depends. This is another site in addition to Canada Buys that we will be talking about. And it's just another source of historic tender data. So you can find more departments that have had requirements in the past, and I will show you why that matters. Building networks. Again, I will show you why this matters, and how to do this, where you can connect directly with officials, maybe ones that have had prior requirements, maybe. And then you can reach out to them directly and see if they will have future requirements. And we will go over how you might do that, why you might do that, and some little tips to that. So some things that might come into play during your network building, who would be the appropriate points of contact inside or outside of government? So who is doing the purchasing? Who are the end users? Which is we'll get it. You'll see on Canada Buys under, if you go and you try to find the contact information for a tender, say that Fisheries and Oceans had, and then you'll see, and the contact is for Public Service and Procurement Canada. Like we said at the beginning, PSPC manages a lot of contracts, so you might not be getting you're not getting the person with the requirement, you're getting the person that issued the tender. And that only matters because the person who issued it might not know about that department's requirements. They were requested to do that one in particular. So make sure that you're finding the right department, you're getting in touch with them. I will show you, there's a whole website for getting in touch with them. You're going to do your research, you're going to look through all of that historic data, and it's going to tell you maybe how often that department has a requirement for catering. Maybe you notice it's every December. Maybe they do a holiday thing. Maybe it's every summer and Parks Canada puts on a picnic. Things like that, sticking with the catering theme. Maybe you notice some patterns and you can get in on those. Maybe not, there's not always, but doing that research will tell you if there is an ongoing need or if it was just a one-off kind of thing. There's search low dollar value history, there's searching award notices. Said we will be going over all of those. There's prime and subcontracting. So maybe you want to get started, you're not finding anything in the low dollar value side of things, but you can do a portion of the work. So maybe you want to be subcontracted to by whoever is awarded the entire contract. So with subcontracting, it is always allowed on a government tender. That is absolutely fine. We just don't facilitate it. So we're not going to take the prime and be like, hey, we heard, this small business called us and seems really nice. You should give them some work. We're not going to put that together. That is up to you to connect with the prime or vice versa. But that's always an option, and can be really beneficial again for getting started. We used to, on Canada Buys, you'll see it and I will point it out. What does it say? I'm trying to think of the exact wording. Something to the effect of, do you want to be a subcontractor? And that is currently unavailable. They're working on that service, but it used to be, the point of it was you would just signal that you were interested in a portion of that work. It was super easy. You just put down your name, your email address, and I think a little bit of information about your company. And then that information was provided to whoever won the contract. And then it was up to them if they wanted to reach out to people on that list. So that was really beneficial. I'm hoping it's out of construction soon, because that's a really good method as well for getting started on that subcontract.
Stephanie, quick question. Do you have any recommendations on how to do the research?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. That's the next part.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
But yes, absolutely. There we go. One slide early. So with that, I will get this. All right. Screen share again. Alrighty. And we're off. So, said this is Canada Buys. If you would like to go through it on its own as an entirety, there's this webinar on that as well. For today, I will just mention that there are a ton of resources, a ton of links, really good information for when you're getting started. So under getting started and how procurement works, you can get a lot of links, a lot of resources, a lot of support, all on this platform itself. So without having to reach out to anybody, send any emails, it is housed here, which is awesome. For today, though, we will just be looking at these tender opportunities because we're caterers today. And something you might notice is Canada Buys houses more than just federal contracts. It also includes provincial, municipal, I always forget what it stands for, the MASH sector, which is academic institution, no, schools, hospitals, administrative, and something else. So there's all sorts of buying departments on here, which is handy because you can only use one platform. You don't have to go and have a different one for municipal and provincial and federal and all the rest, but it is something to be aware of, because if you're looking for a federal tender and you end up with an Atlantic region municipality, you might not be in the right spot. So with that, so we're gonna look, you're a small business, you want a low dollar value contract in catering. How do you do that? Start with catering. And then these are all the ones that are open. So that's a good start. This is all, it's going to be over $25,000. So maybe right off the bat, you're like, that's probably too big. I don't have that capacity. So first you could double check. You could click on this one, look at the bidding details. You'd open this, you'd read the solicitation document. You'd make sure that that was not something that you were interested in, but assuming that's correct, you can go to award notices. So, award notices. And these are now, so you'll see, like, tender notices, there's only four open right now. Awarded, there's triple that. So you can look at other organizations, departments that have had the same requirement. This is another good start. This is going to help build that list of who you're going to be looking up over in the electronic directory. But this is kind of what I was referencing. These are, even though they're all, I believe, let's assume these are all catering related. I don't, oh, that's company name, that's why. So these are all in reference to catering, and they're all over $1 million. So what exactly those contracts include, I don't know, but they're sizable, and a lot of them are for Department of National Defense. They're big. That is something that you'll find on Canada Buys. It just because the threshold is over $25,000 doesn't mean that it's only $25,000. So that, maybe that's not what you're after. You can reach out to this Compass, and where is it? So they will give you some information on whoever won the bid. You can see what else they would have won. You can reach out to them about subcontracting. You can, hey, I noticed you won this one. We're located here. Maybe we can subcontract a portion of that out to us. That's an option as well. So say none of that was really what you're interested in, you can also go over here. It's called the proactive disclosure. It's on a open government portal, I believe. So there's all sorts of kind of interesting resources housed here as well. But the one that we're interested in is this contract's over $10,000. So you might have noticed we were talking about goods and services. The threshold is $25,000 and $40,000. Credit card purchases are 10. Does that mean that there are no purchases between 10 and 25 or 10 and 40? Like, where's that? So that's gonna be here. Anything over, so at $10,000, because it's just a credit card purchase, it's not recorded, or sorry, I shouldn't say it's not recorded. It's not posted anywhere. It's considered very small value contract. It's not gonna be disclosed somewhere. So over that $10,000 though, it's all gonna be here. And this does also have over, like, it's not exclusively between that 10 and 25 or 10 and 40. It will have a lot of higher dollar value ones as well. But if you're trying to get a sense more, maybe you don't want a department that had a $1.8 million requirement. Maybe you want a department that had a $14,000 requirement. This might be a little bit more applicable. So we're going to go back to
Stephanie.
Yes.
Someone's asking if there are opportunities to provide products as well, like personal care products. Is it just goods and services?
The personal care would be a good.
Okay.
Yeah, so goods would be items, products, that type of thing. Services are give me an example. Software design. Exactly. So yes. Where were we? let's see if we can find a good one. So if we go down to the solicitation procedure, competitive will be, it's that process. It's going to be on Canada Buys. It's going to be open for 15 or more days. It's going to have a solicitation document. You're going to go through, you're going to put your bid together, you're going to send it in, it's going to get evaluated. It's competitive. There's multiple businesses all trying to get that.
There's questions on how you got to that page, Stephanie.
This page?
Yes, just how you got to the 10,000 and under category.
Yes. So so there will be a link coming, but if in the meantime you just Google proactive disclosures, you should see the first result should be like open.canada.ca. And then that first tab will be let's see, what does it say? Contracts over $10,000. Yeah, go open.canada.ca/proactive disclosures.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So yeah, if you select that non-competitive, that means it's low dollar. That means it never went through that whole process. It was done. See this one, this is going to be under $25,000. It's close, but it's not subject to all of those processes. So now the downside, not downside, but you'll notice over here you had the contracting authority, you had their name, you had their email, you had their phone number. They make it really easy to get in touch with them. So, you have a lot of information about this person in particular. This one you don't, you just have the organization. So does that matter if you find a contract that's 5 years old? Who's to say that person's still works with the department that they were with, or maybe they've moved on or with somebody else now. So is it influential? Maybe not, but do keep that in mind that you don't get the same level of contact information about whoever issued that procurement. So I will show you why that doesn't matter. So now you have some information. You have, whoops, one too many. You have all of these departments, organizations. Yikes, there we go. And that's the other thing to be noticed. On this government electronic directory, there's limited information about RCMP employees and Department of National Defense employees. So for this one, over here, these are all mostly RCMP and DND. So even though they're going to give you that contact information over here, there we go, you won't be able to find out the rest of her team say. And that's important because, like I said, if you go to email her and you don't get a response, or that email's out of service or something, it's kind of the end of the line. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go, and again, I will send you this link, but if you Google Government Electronic Directory Service, it will bring you to this page. So now you have a phone book of most government employees. So with that, say, this is something, you like the look of this one. Said it's not, because there is no formal contract, it didn't go through that whole process, there's not going to be tons and tons of information about what exactly was needed, but you'll get a little bit. but say that's the right contract value threshold for you. So you know, it's okay, Department of Finance. You would come over here, under department listing, you can go to finance. So now you have, oh, apparently I've done this before. With finance, you have a whole phone book of their employees. So for the most part, you're going to go to corporate services. Corporate services will be in charge of material management, asset management. They're the most likely to have spending authority. And not all departments are laid out the same, which is also a little bit frustrating. They're not always, some are going to start with region, some corporate services isn't always the first one. Or like on this first block, sometimes you have to click into one. So there is a little bit of fussing needed, said playing darts a little bit, of trying to find the information because all the, like I said, departments aren't all laid out the same on here, unfortunately. So in this case, it was easy. We're in corporate services, finance management, and now there's a long list of people, but there's a few right off the bat. This is a procurement officer, procurement and material management officer. Anything with procurement means that they buy stuff. So you can use you as an example, except he is a bad example because his information is not yet up to date. How about you? No. Really? That's just bad luck. Does anybody have stuff posted? Nobody has anything posted. Okay, well, that's a bad example. Usually, in every other case, there is, no. The department will be up to date and it will have their information listed. So, what about you? No. I'm guessing that's probably a platform issue. That doesn't really make sense. But you're looking for a manager, you're looking for a supply team leader, you're looking for some procurement in their name. That's some criteria that is going to help when you reach out to them. You know that that person is able to purchase stuff. See if we can find a different one. A lot of Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission needs snacks. Space Agency, it's going to be the same process regardless of the department. Whether it's finance, if it's, so this one's Canadian Heritage, so will be the same thing. You're going to go to department listing. You're going to find, whoops, Canadian Heritage. And then, so this one doesn't have it right off the bat. This one doesn't have a corporate services. So even here, like none of these are very obvious. I might be in the wrong spot, but yeah. And so it's imperfect, in the sense of it can be time consuming, but you have a lot of information to use. You have all of this competitive procurement information. There's a lot of tender data there as well. And then you have a huge resource of, and this is all, what is it? These 60 some are all under $25,000 or under $40,000. So you can take away that criteria and have way more than that even.
Stephanie, I have a
So-
question. It's Kathy Burrell. I just wondered, a lot of these ones that you're showing now, 2018, 2023, are they, are the tenders updated regularly, or, because they couldn't bid on anything like this from 2022. This is mostly just information, just in case they want to see who did what when.
Exactly.
Okay.
So none of these will be like, these are all awarded already. This is the name of whoever is doing the work.
Okay.
These aren't open tenders, but regardless, like, yeah, if a department had a requirement in 2018, which I still think is 2 years ago, but it's getting closer to 6, and they haven't had one since, is that necessarily, not say worth your time, but it's the same amount of time that goes into finding someone to reach out to putting them, to going through GEDS, to sending that email, to having that conversation. And it was a one-time thing 6 years ago. Whereas if you can find one where, this was 2 months ago, and that's more recent, that's more up to date. So that's part of the strategy. Like, I wouldn't, it's interesting that there's tender history from 2009, but is that, I shouldn't say is that helpful for a common commodity like catering? Probably not, because there's a lot more recent examples. For maybe a more niche commodity, something that's not as commonly needed, things like that, well then yeah, maybe it helps to have 15 years of history. Then it just increases your chance of finding something. So for the most,
so there is a page, or there is within the website, there is current opportunities as well, correct?
not on this one.
Okay.
Because, so yeah, like I said, this is only tender data. This isn't going to be an open opportunity.
Okay.
So you can filter it, you can select what years you're interested in.
Okay.
Maybe those more, like I said, for a common commodity that has that's returning a lot of results, maybe you do want to narrow it down for the last 2 years.
Right.
If you're not getting any and you're looking back in 2014, that's also totally fine. You can still send that email and say, hey, I was looking on this site, I noticed you had a requirement for this good at this time. My name is XYZ, this is my business, this is what we're able to provide. Let us know. And there's no harm in sending that email, reaching out. That's what it means to build those networks. Will they always need it? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Will you always nail it the first time and get the right person? Maybe not. Maybe it gets forwarded to a couple people first and you have to have that conversation a few times. Said it's not necessarily a perfect system in the sense of there is a degree of trial and error on your part of having to just keep doing that research, keep sending those emails, making those phone calls, whatever you prefer, and trying to get to somebody that needs your good or service. But in exchange, you don't have a 100-page solicitation document. You don't have all of your, like, those bids are in depth. They can be really complex.
Right.
So is it more intuitive to be researching and reaching out to people, or putting together a spreadsheet of financial analysis? Well, I don't know. It depends.
It does depend. So Stephanie, we've got about 10 minutes left. So we'll, you think maybe another 5 minutes, and then maybe we'll leave 5 minutes for question and wrapping up?
No, I think that we can go into questions right now.
Okay.
And
I do have some questions, Stephanie. The chat, people are only able to direct message me for some reason. So I'll just ask the questions if you don't mind.
I'd love that.
Okay, let's see here. Someone asked if there's a contact person for each tender. In this section, it's just the organization, you said. Is that correct?
That's correct. So on this proactive disclosures page, this is the amount of information that you'll get. However, on Canada Buys, you are correct. There's a contracting authority on each tender with a email address and or phone number available. The caveat to that is, like we mentioned, sometimes I'm not gonna be able to find an example, but that's fine. You'll notice that there's two departments, so contracting organization and I think it says end user. So this will often be PSPC and the end user will be a different department, but you'll only have the contact information directly to, and it'll be a PSPC person who, like I said, probably won't be able to help you. So in that case, you would go back through this process, you would look up that department, you would find procurement or material management or acquisition or corporate services, those types of offices, and reach out to them. But for the most, there will be a contact person on every tender on Canada Buys.
Okay. And then for the 10,000 and under, you were using the filter non-competitive. Is that the one you always want to be looking at there?
Necessarily. The non-competitive just means that it's guaranteed under that $25,000 or $40,000 threshold. So if that doesn't matter to you and you would rather have more information rather than less, absolutely. You don't have to use any of these necessarily. So there are 56 that are under $25,000. There's more that are over $25,000. So it depends how important that threshold is to you, kind of what your capacity is. Again, I don't want you guys scrolling through hundreds and hundreds of contracts of things that are either above or below what you're looking for. So the so you can look, oh, that would probably be a better way to do it. So you can specify further what contract value you're interested in, like between 10 and 25. Is that perfect for you? Do you want more than that? Do you want less than that maybe? Which, like I said, there's going to be limited data on. It doesn't matter. It's going to give you the same information. It's just one way to narrow it down to make sure that you're kind of directing that energy as efficiently as you can.
Okay. Someone is a coach and they're wondering if you have suggestions for search parameters. When they try to put in coaching, they get a lot of motor coach responses back.
Sure. Coaching, I believe, goes through professional services. That is one of their streams. So there is that option to join a supply arrangement for professional services in whatever kind of coaching you offer. In terms of, it's a little bit more complicated with those types of services. There still is the option of, it's not a requirement to use the pro services standing off. So sorry, it's the pro services supply arrangement for coaching, but a lot of departments still prefer to. So even if you're going through this process and it's, you know, under that $40,000, but you're not part of the supply arrangement, there's a lot of people that are, and that may be to your detriment to not be on that supply arrangement. So reach out to us. We will talk about coaching specifically with you directly, just because it is a little bit, it goes to that pro services method of supply. So it's a little bit different than general good.
Yes, because again, you know, we want everyone to remember that yeah, if this is the first time you've seen the Canada Buys website, it can be a little bit overwhelming. But again, you have a trusted contact in this
Mhm.
process, and that is Stephanie Waters.
Yeah.
So we definitely, don't want you to be overwhelmed and never consider selling to the government. This is just kind of step one. This was an informational sort of a website or a webinar, but yeah, Stephanie is the one who can direct you, and that's worth a lot. So yeah. Okay, Stephanie or Brandy, any more questions, or do you think we should
I have one more.
go ahead?
Someone saying that the Canada Buy shows no open tenders for consulting, and they're just wondering if that sounds correct. And then they're curious how the SAP system integrates into Canada Buys.
Yeah, absolutely. I will answer the second one, look up the first. So SAP Ariba is the what is it called? The electronic procurement solution. So it is designed so that you can, instead of having to mail in your bids, instead of having to drop them off in person, instead of how that used to go, you can now submit them online. So you log in, it gives you your solicitation document. It'll give you a little bit more of a template instead of a blank Word document. Maybe it's a drop down, maybe it's a fill in the blank. It makes bidding, is supposed to make bidding more streamlined. If you check yes and the answer is supposed to be no, it's going to tell you it's non-compliant, which is helpful instead of getting to the end of that and submitting it and putting all that work in and then them saying, oh, it's non-compliant. You're going to find out right away. So it's the bidding platform. It will also be used as the payment platform, but Canada Buys is still the search platform. So you're going to find your tenders, you're going to use the resources, you're going to use their support desk, you're going to do all of that stuff on Canada Buys. When you find a tender that you're interested in, you're going to follow that to SAP Ariba. You're going to already have your profile set up, which if you need help with, let me know. And you're going to submit your bid online. So that's how those two things are related. It is for bidding on these competitive procurements. And I'm also seeing a lot of results for consulting. So double check that you don't have any filters on. And I don't know what else, or maybe, yeah, I don't know. There seem to be a lot of options here. So maybe use a refresh, use a different browser, check to make sure you don't have too many filters in here that might be narrowing that down too much. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. I just wanted to, we've got a couple of minutes left. So thank you to Stephanie for today's webinar. I mean, it was fantastic. And yeah, we're just sort of scratching the surface here. So this is what, it's a fine line between overwhelming you and giving you information that's great. So thank you to Stephanie, and take a look in the chat. Stephanie's information will be in there, and it will also be in the email that you're going to get. So thanks, Stephanie. I just wanted to let everybody know that we've introduced some SMART programs here at WeBC, which means that these are courses that you take on your own. They're developed by WeBC, but they're all taken on your own. You've got, I think, 90 days to do the courses. We've already launched small business. We're on our way to launch financial fitness, and we're on our way to launch strategic marketing. And again, the way to make sure that you get involved in this, because for the first year, these courses are free. So go to the eBlast and sign up, or register at the website here. And again, that will be in the information that we send you. Last but not least, International Women's Day is coming up on March the 8th, which is, again, you know, we serve women in this province, and we would love you to join us at this virtual event. Again, you have to register, but the registration is simple. It's on our website, and we'd love to see you there. We should all be together celebrating our success on International Women's Day. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming today. Again, you know, use Stephanie, use us. If anything you need, if you're just even thinking about getting into the procurement process, we'd love to hear from you. You can do our socials. Go ahead and contact us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, which is now X, or just send us a call, send us an email at hello@webc.ca. or give us a phone call toll free anywhere in BC. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us today, and enjoy your day. Yeah, good luck with everybody's that's jumping into it. If not, stay tuned. We've got more coming on procurement. So goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. And Brandy, I guess you can stop the recording.